Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mark's Backyard Birds. I'm Mark McKellar, wildlife biologist here in Kansas City, Missouri. Tonight's topic is about bird watching in the fall. And this scene behind me is this morning at Parkville Nature Sanctuary in the Kansas City region. And this was our first bird hike of the fall season. I do them April and May, and we also do them in September and October. And one of the reasons we choose those times of year, of course, is migration. We have a lot of birds that nest here, and we get to see them all year long. And we have birds that winter here. But for bird watching, your best chance to see the greatest diversity of birds is during their migration season. And this is songbirds are moving right now. Shorebirds are moving right now. Ducks are just starting to move. And so we get out as often as we can and go to areas. And the question that was asked a lot today, or, was kind of the topic of the morning is like, well, how do you decide on where to go to look for birds whenever you're out there? Because there's obviously lots of parks and there's lakes in the region. And of course, you've got your own backyard. You've got many places you can look for birds. So how do you increase your chances of finding birds that are unique for you and that you want to see? We obviously get a chance to sit and watch our bird feeders a lot, and that's wonderful. And people are have great backyards and landscaping to help them attract birds. So when you want to go take a hike, how do you decide where to look and also when to look? So thought we would address that tonight, and that is when you're talking about fall. Now, this is, I guess by the calendar, it's not fall yet, but for birds, it's definitely fall. They're in early September and late August. They're on the move. They've had their babies there, and they have fledged them, and they've kind of taught them some life lessons. And now they've got to head for a lot of these species. They've got to go to where they can find dependable insects and fruit for them the rest of the year. And that is for a lot of cases, and of course the tropics, and that is the rainforest and lower Central America, northern South America, and some birds, they go all the way to very southern South America. But a lot of the birds that pass through here are going into that Central America area where they can find insects and fruit all year long. So when they're moving like they are now, for us, where are the best places to look for them? Well, what I like to concentrate on first, and we're going to get back to this scene behind us. That's me right behind my head there in the green jacket. That's the bird hike this morning. But one of the things you really want to concentrate on are the two most important things for me, of course, are water. Because birds, when they're migrating, they don't know where anything is. So water is a true magnet to them. So if you have areas that you can go to, wetland areas, obviously are going to be better for ducks and shorebirds and things like that. And we've had a really, really dry summer here, and this particular conservation area that we go to has no water in it right now. I mean, it's been so dry that it is, from all reports, there's very, very, if not any water in this area, and that can happen. But it doesn't just have to be wetlands. I mean, obviously, larger wetlands are better at holding water longer, and if they've got a natural source of water. But it can also be streams and creeks. And this is at the area we were at this morning. I took this picture at a different time, but this is the waterfall area that really truly is just a creek, a drainage from a lake above it, and it comes to the area and flows through the nature sanctuary where we were today. So water is so important. So when you're incorporating where you want to visit and where you want to go looking for birds, consider what sources of water are there, because water, of course, is the key for insect. A lot of insects lay their eggs in water, and there's a lot of insect hatches around water, and so that's going to attract birds as well. But also, birds just have to have water. So water is so important, but also natural food sources. Now, when you've got, just like this morning, we had the opportunity to either go hike a lot in the woodlands, like in the woods, or out on the outer edges of the woods. And what I recommend this time of year, especially in the fall, it is to stick to the edges of the woods, the edge effect. And that is the area that the sunlight gets to the vegetation for longer periods, whereas a lot of shade in the woodlands. Well, on the edges, you get a lot of wildflowers and you get a lot of berry producing plants. This coneflower seed head that this goldfinch is feeding on is a great example. My goldfinches from my feeders have really slowed up, but they're out doing this right now. They're eating on wild, like the coneflower seed heads, and like this picture here of them on a sunflower head. This is a really good example of a great place to be bird watching this time of the year. You got a lot of native grasses. You got grasses behind it, and sunflower. Lots of different seed heads available to birds. And so I recommend staying on the outer edges of the woodlands. You concentrate your efforts and where there's a lot of edge effect. And then the picture, let's get back to this one behind me. This is one of my favorite areas at this conservation area, this wildlife area, Parkville Nature Sanctuary. It is behind the area here. There's a lot of grass area, but there's woods and there's edges of the woods, and those woodland edges are filled with dogwood berries and wild grapes, and a lot of the plants that are so important. A nice wild grape scene. Well, when birds are migrating, they can get to an area, and a lot of these birds primarily eat insects, but when the bugs or insects are a little bit harder to find, they really rely on the fruit that's available to them in fall migration that usually wasn't there in spring. Usually those wild fruit supplies are depleted in spring migration, so they're really counting a lot on the insects, whereas in the fall, a lot of these birds that are primary insect eaters do eat a lot of fruit, get a lot of their energy and for migration out of things like the wild grapes here and poison ivy berries. I've talked about that, how important a plant poison ivy and the fruit is to birds, and it's so true. And then the cedar waxwings on juniper berries. They how fat those berries are, and a lot of birds take advantage of that. And the thing I was talking about on the hike this morning is to make sure when you're out, the birds aren't singing as much. Obviously, the nesting is over. Not as much song as you're going to get in the spring when you're out looking for birds. But one of the bird songs that I recommend listening for, especially fall and into winter, are the chickadees. And the reason for that is chickadees are just such smart birds that other birds know that they are good at finding food. They're curious, they're bold, and they're always on the move. And so other birds like bluebirds and downy woodpeckers and white-breasted nuthatches and several species will follow chickadees around, and it's called intraspecific flocks, and they move around. And so when you're out bird watching, be on the listen for chickadee, that call of theirs, and keep your eyes open and look around, because usually there'll be other birds among the chickadees. This is always just fun to see chickadees, but it is a good thing. So water, the woodland edges, natural sources of food, chickadees, those are all good things to key in on in the fall when you're out walking and looking for birds. And we love it. And you want to be out as often as you can here in September and into October. The bird life changes just about every day. The winds will shift, from the north to the south and back and forth. And so new birds will come in, and some of our birds will leave. But it is really a rewarding time to be out. And hopefully you can get out and go look for some wild birds. And I'll put the list up on our Facebook page later on today of what we saw this morning. So if you want to log in, just do a search on Facebook for backyardbirdcenter.com, or click on the link that is in the description below. Go and make sure you look it up on Facebook, because that's where the list will be. You can see, and there'll be a couple of pictures on there as well too. So birding is such a great hobby, and I hope you can get out as often as you possibly can here in the fall season. And these tips will help you locate some new birds. So thanks for the idea for the program. Give us a like, give us a share. If you're, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to ring that bell so you'll get notified when I'm on next. So thank you much. Everybody have a great day.